This is the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Wilmer behind the back, spinorama, he scores! Goodness gracious, what a goal by Jeremy Wilmer!
Discussion.
Michaels is in, over the line, Owen to the net with a shot, he scores! Owen Michaels, 4-2, Western Michigan!
Opinion.
Lawback back out there with Vink now. Vink hands Matt, sprints near wing into the attacking zone. Matt into the near circle, fires, he scores! Hysteria here in Hockey Valley as Penn State upsets number 2 Minnesota 4-3 on the overtime winner by Simon Mack.
Special guests. And your listener questions.
Countdown is on. Sent down the ice by Bump. The icing is waved, and it's over! Western Michigan has won it! The Broncos are the Frozen Four champions of 2025!
Taking you through the world of college hockey, here are your hosts, Adam Roden and Mike McMahon.
All right, welcome to the first College Hockey News podcast of this 2025-26 season. And here we go. We're underway finally. And last week, while all the excitement of the opening weekend was going on, I was at a baseball tournament. Unlike when you go to baseball tournaments and watch your kids, I played them, which I don't know what's crazier because I just played 11 baseball games in 8 days. So just still recovering from that. But here we are.
I was going to say, that takes a little bit for my 15-year-old to recover from. I can't imagine me doing it.
Yeah. Well, 7-inning games still, I mean, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, we went pretty far in both tournaments that we played in, but alas, did not win either one. But the first one, Charlie Hayes was our manager. And,
nice.
Boy, you wind that guy up like a doll and let go of the string, and he just starts ranting about how baseball stinks these days. He used worse language than that. But a good guy. And then the Howard Johnson was our manager, the second one. And, I said, me and Hojo, well, yeah, we have a lot in common. I said we both members of the 30-30 Club in 1987. He hit 30 homers and 30 stolen bases, and I stole 30 beers and ran home 30 times. So there you go.
There you go.
We have a lot in common, but super good dude. That's good, always good to know. But anyway, on to hockey, and this past weekend, in case you haven't heard, the start of the season, and in particular, just a handful of games, but amidst, what was really just, 10 or so games was a massively important one. And we'll get into that right away because, honestly, there wasn't a whole lot else. I know BC and Quinnipiac played, and Quinnipiac had a nice win there. It's going to be really hard to take away a lot from these early games, even more so than usual, because of all the turnovers. I mean, I've been posting the previews that you guys have all been writing for College Hockey News on the site, which you can find right now. And every time I go down, it's like, well, there's 18 new faces and 13 new faces and 17. I'm like, every single team is like that, right? So what is this early season even going to know, really?
Everyone's in the same boat. I mean, Everyone's trying to figure out their team. Yeah, it's like that. This has been almost the hardest season to predict. I know when I did the top 10 a couple of weeks ago, it was the same thing. You're sitting there going, every team has some question marks because there are so many new faces, and some of them are maybe less questionable than others. Like I'm pretty confident that Gavin McKenna is going to contribute just fine in college hockey, but it's still until you start to see this stuff and you see some evidence of it, and some concrete evidence of it, you just don't know. It was the hardest year to come up with that top 10 because everybody's got some questions because everybody has so many new faces. But I also think almost across the board, the talent level on almost every team is better than it was a year ago.
Talent level, for sure. How that all is going to come together, obviously, will be the big task for all the coaching staff.
We will see.
And, of course, I don't pay a lot of attention to recruiting usually. I mean, I leave that to other people, and when they come into school, I go, okay, these are the guys that I should pay attention to, and then we see how it develops. But even less so with Major Junior in the past. So when we see all these new faces, I am super unfamiliar with. So I couldn't even begin to tell you, like, yeah, this guy's going to be helpful or not. So I'm going to sit back and watch and eat the popcorn and see how it goes for right now. And so anyway, I got sidetracked there as to what the big games of the weekend were, and that's Arizona State hosting Penn State. And you could, circle that on the calendar as soon as Gavin McKenna signed his Athletic Aid agreement in the middle of the summer. Although, those would have been big games even had he not, right? Even if it was just all the other guys. Because, you go to the first game, and was it Charlie Serrato who had 5 points? And DeMarsico had the hat trick, and including the empty netter. And, of course, the second night, Arizona State up 2-0, and Penn State rallied again with this time Gavin McKenna scoring the game-winning goal on a power play late in the game with a very nice shot, by the way. And he definitely was all over the place. So, it's clear that he will be an impact player as a freshman, as advertised. However, he's well off his 100-point pace that everyone was projecting him to be. He had the 1 goal, 2 assists. So he's got 3 points, right, in 2 games, and that's about a 53-point pace. So, but that was silly in the first place, and anyone with really any knowledge knew not to make such ridiculous proclamations.
Social media in 2025, though, that's how it goes. People it was ridiculous, but there were a lot of people that were all over it, which was kind of funny.
Look, he might load up against Clarkson and Stonehill in the next couple of weeks, but still. But the thing is, though, if he scores 60, 70 points, that's really good.
Yeah. I think 65 to 70 points is reasonable.
Yeah. And he's off that pace right now, but he was an impact player in 2 huge wins. And, if you've listened to me or you or anyone over the years on the website or the podcast, you all should know by now that these early season games, as chaotic as they may be, with the rosters not necessarily settled, are huge when it comes to determining who's going to make the NCAA tournament. And so for Penn State to go on the road and get 2 wins, they have a new formula this year. The pairwise has been replaced by the MPI. We'll get to that over the course of the season. But for all intents and purposes, a lot of the components are the same. So that early season road win against a non-conference opponent is ginormous.
Yeah, it's going to be big at the end of the year, that's for sure. Although, I think Penn State more than likely is not going to be a team that is in that bubble territory, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. It's a long year. Yeah, I was going to say this could make a difference between them being a 1 seed or a 2 seed, or a 2 seed or a 3 seed, and who knows how that may impact travel and other things coming their way.
But I think conversely, that was really bad for Arizona State. I mean, they're a team that came in with high hopes. They just missed the NCAAs last year, hoping to get back to it this year. Pretty good roster. I mean, it still could happen, obviously. I mean, it's early, but losing those 2 games at home and losing leads in both games.
Yeah.
Was not good. They have time to recover, but those could really leave a dent come March.
Yeah, for sure. Especially they had 2 third-period leads in both of those games, and they did provide some push late in both of those games, and that's where I actually think if I'm a Penn State fan, I'm more excited about the fact, Gavin McKenna's going to be great. I'm more excited about the fact that we weren't sure what we were going to look at goaltending-wise, and Kevin Reedler looked like a number 1 goalie, especially late in those third periods when Arizona State was kind of making that final push. Both nights, he was really tested and had to make some key saves late, and did. So that, if I'm a Penn State fan, like I said, that's as good of a sign as I think of anything else coming out of the series. You showed you were able to come back in the third period twice, and your goalie looked legit, like a legit number 1 goalie. So those are 2 really good signs.
Absolutely. I was going to say the same thing. Big kid from Sweden, 5th-round draft pick of Ottawa in 2022. He was at Omaha last year, and, he didn't play a lot, but he had some big games. I mean, he played against Arizona State last year and had 41 saves and a loss. And he had a bunch of games where he actually played against them later on in the season, too. And also, I think this is actually not correct. We have him down for 40 saves in 7 minutes, so check on that. But you never know.
It's a heck of a push.
You never know. But so this year, I mean, 70 80 saves in 2 games. His goals against average 2.5 on the surface is not world-beating, but then you realize he faced 80 shots. More than that, because that's 80 saves. And, absolutely. I mean, if he can come in and be the big number one, I mean, that is obviously a huge factor because they have everything else. Again, every team is young. I mean, we're going to say this about, or at least inexperienced college hockey-wise, because some of the teams, have 20, 21-year-old freshmen, but they're new to college hockey. But in the Penn State's case, I mean, young guy like McKenna, obviously. Another big factor, though, too, is I saw, Matt Godowski, who was a Hobie finalist last year, played at Army and was a tremendous player there. After 2 years at Army, you have to make your decision whether to stay or not. Then you're kind of locked in for a while. So he transfers to Penn State. We didn't know. At least I didn't know whether, I'm going to play with my father, but, how does my Army career really translate to the Penn State level? Like, is he going to be like a bottom pair guy? Where he had a lot of time. You know what I mean? Like, I got to find here. Let me see what.
I looked at this. Yeah, I want to say it was 22, 24 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, 20 minutes on Saturday's game. Yeah, 23. So, and he was getting power play time and the whole 9 yards, and there was a lot of power plays. There was 11 power plays total in that first game. So, I mean, I guess that's a great sign for him that, his abilities at Army really can translate as he bumps up a level. I didn't know if that was just going to be like, I want to play for my dad kind of thing, but that's pretty huge.
Yeah, for sure. It's a top 4 defenseman, for sure. Like, I don't know if the offensive totals will necessarily translate. It probably not to the level it was a year ago, just because the strength of schedule that he's going to play is going to be so much more difficult. But look, that doesn't, at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. It's can you come into a program and contribute? And if you're playing 23 minutes a night or 20 to 23 minutes a night, you're contributing. That's not even top 4. I mean, you look at most other teams around the country, that's top pair defensemen are playing that level of minutes. So, no, I thought he had a really good weekend. It seemed and just flawless, kind of seamlessly filled in on that back end for Penn State.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about, Serrato, who was a second-round pick in the most recent draft, and DeMarsico? I mean, those kind of holdovers, from a team that went to the Frozen Four last year. Yeah, again, early season, we don't know what's going to happen. But, by the way, just dove into that box score that I said was wacky. We have 52 minutes of empty net for 0 goals and 7 minutes for Riedler at 40. So, I mean, something screwy there.
That's pretty aggressive.
I'm very glad that I noticed this, by the way, because God only knows. I mean, we don't usually we get our data from straight from the school, so usually I've never noticed a mistake like that before, but 7 months after the fact, I've thankfully noticed that one. So we'll fix it. But, Hey,
I'm all for coaches should be pulling the goalie earlier. I'm a big proponent of that, but I think you can go a little later than 8 minutes into the game.
I mean, 52 minutes of no goals allowed. I mean, that's pretty impressive that happens.
Although, if you don't allow a goal, that is pretty impressive. Yeah.
Especially by the way they won the game. So I think there's something off there. All right, just a little bit. So anyway, but yeah, that's a huge opening weekend. And back to McKenna for a second, though. Like, it was all the hoopla. You had the NHL Network doing the games, and that was interesting. On the one level, it's cool, college hockey is getting that much attention. On the other hand, it makes you feel, I don't know, I don't want to be like knee-jerkingly like hate the kid for this. Like, it's not his fault,
Sure.
But it's just weird. Like, we've had other guys pretty close to that level, in recent years, if not at that level. And you haven't had that kind of ridiculousness. So, I get that he's supposed to be like, on the Bedard level, although Bedard, hasn't set the world on fire in the NHL yet either. But
I was going to say, I got news here. Right now, Macklin Celebrini looks like he's going to be a better NHL player than Connor Bedard. But we'll see.
We didn't see that. I mean, look, other than Buchigras and ESPN at the Frozen Four, Celebrini did not get that kind of attention, which is we gave him to him. We knew what he was. But it's just weird, like because they have a lot of good players on that team, and we talked about it during the summer when we did the podcast. They brought in a lot of guys. They have some good holdovers. I mean, a lot of guys who they had recruited or probably kind of bumped out the door for better or worse. As they brought in, and we didn't even talk about Jackson Smith, who was sick, another a major junior player who was brought in over the summer. That probably is one of the reasons why Godowski's totals on defense were as high as they were. He's definitely going to be a top 4, but he may not get that many minutes when Jackson Smith is in there. But anyway, it's just a little weird to me, and I'm trying really hard not to hold it against McKenna or anybody, but it's just odd, I guess, the way that has sort of blown up.
I think part of it is that it's Penn State. And that, again, I'm not piling on Penn State here either. It's a marketable name. People outside of just college hockey, they know Penn State. So I was using this example to somebody the other day. I think if Gavin McKenna was committing to even Western Michigan, who just won the national title, or if he was committing to North Dakota or even Denver, I don't know that his commitment's going to be announced on SportsCenter and then he's going to be interviewed there. Maybe it would be because Buccigross would have made something happen. It was so hyped, but it felt like a lot of that hoopla, whether it was NHL Network or SportsCenter broadcasting the commitment live, or some of the 100-point hoopla that we talked about before, was driven by the fact that it brought in so many outside eyeballs, in part because it's Penn State, it's the Big Ten, and people know the Big Ten. Even if you don't know hockey, you know the Big Ten.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of agree. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm not holding it against the kid, but I do find it interesting that, and some of it is just, I think, social media in 2025 too, and how everything is the greatest thing ever, and everything is blown out of proportion. And so many of these accounts are creating graphics and videos just to get engagement, because that's how they make their money. Everything is the best thing ever, and I guess that was the case 2 years ago with Celebrini too. But I do think a big chunk of it is just that this is the hype surrounding him. It's not annoying, but I also find it interesting because it is like people are acting as if college hockey has never had a number 1 overall pick before, and it happened 2 years ago. We're not even talking about 2020. We're talking about 2 years ago.
Even 10 years ago, when it was Eichel got a lot of publicity, and he was only the number 2 overall pick behind Connor McDavid. But there was a lot of hype with Eichel, but it was hype within college hockey. Again, when the Frozen Four came around and they were in it that year, like Buccigross and ESPN, they were constantly talking about Eichel, but it was confined to that, our little community here. The fact that this has blown up the way it has is I guess coming from Major Junior and all that, he was already on the radar, and being the part of the World Juniors for Canada, he was already being hyped in Canada. So, I mean, that's probably part of it, right? Where they go, oh, boy, now this is like a novelty, like he's going over there. But, just from a pure hockey standpoint, I don't know if he's any better than Eichel, from that standpoint. And
I agree.
So much, and I guess another factor probably, too, is that, they couldn't, well, at least not technically or legally, not saying that anything happened, but couldn't pay Jack Eichel $700,000 and $200,000.
That's true.
I guess that's
and we talked about it over the summer. When we did a summer episode, I think part of what spun this into a big story too is that he's the first player of that caliber who came from the CHL to college hockey. So for a lot of college hockey people, it does feel like a little bit of a win of this long-standing debate, which league is better, blah, 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 blah. We've gone through it. This was a guy that chose to leave where he was in the CHL to come to the NCAA for his draft year, and he's supposed to be the number 1 pick. I think that plays a part in it too. But I was talking to somebody earlier in the week. I said the same thing. It's almost like, are these people just new fans? Were they not aware that Macklin Celebrini played at BU 2 years ago? Because that's also what fueled the whole 100-point thing. And I laughed at it. No offense, Gavin McKenna's a great player. He ain't sniffing 100 points. That just doesn't happen anymore. But
he is. I think he's surrounded by better line mates than Celebrini was. So
I agree.
I mean, that fact. But, I mean, then again, you had Will Smith and Ryan Leonard. I mean, they were all together, and they couldn't put up that kind of points. And they put up a lot, but it wasn't that. So
65 to 70. That seems like it's a reasonable number.
And look, again, that's really good. And he had a fantastic weekend and scored only 3 points. You know what I mean? Like, he had a great weekend.
65 to 70 probably wins him the Hobie. It won Celebrini the Hobie.
Yeah, right.
Like, we're still talking about arguably the best player in college hockey. Like, I'm not diminishing the kid at all. Like, he might be the best player in the country.
Well, he had 9 shots, which is pretty good, but that's third most. And they take a lot of shots, as you know. His playmaking was just as impressive, honestly. And he played 22 minutes a game. So amongst the forwards, that was the most of anybody. And I think, that's going to be huge for him too, just in terms of development. Like, does he play shorthand? Does he play penalty? Because, Celebrini did that, and that has certainly helped translate for him. So, they're going to want to throw him into every situation if you're that good. I mean, that you want a guy like that on the ice. So,
yeah.
But so there you go. But again, let's not lose sight of the other guys on that team: Serrato, DeMarsico, Wiebusch, and Fink, all right up there as far as points that they're going to put up this year. And then you got Reese Lawback, who did not have a big weekend, but I mean he's in there as a factor. And then when Jackson Smith comes in, Shea Van Olm was another one. We had a story on him. He was. He came from Major Junior as well and put up a lot of numbers there. Hasn't gotten untracked yet. Just in the first weekend, did not have any points. But, another guy who could be a factor as well. So plenty there. For Arizona State, just getting back to them for a second, again, I think that they, it's not that their season's over or anything like that, but they did really lose an opportunity to put up quality point. We called them pairwise points in the past, but whatever you want to call them now, they just lost out an opportunity there. They had a golden opportunity to split at least with Penn State, a quality team. They could have put that on their resume, and now it just looks like 2 losses. So it's unfortunate. They have a solid team, but they just a couple of mistakes at the wrong time, and boom, that's it. So
yep.
That was the end
I
of
think
that.
they'll learn from it. Like I still think they're a top 15 team at worst. We'll see. It's a long year, but yeah, you could be. Arizona State could absolutely be looking back on those 2 games come the middle of March and go, if we had just taken one of them, had we held on to one of those third period leads, maybe we're in a better spot. Because that's unlike Penn State, that I think will kind of solidly be in it. Arizona State, at least, again, you never know. But in the preseason, I think Arizona State might be 10, 11, 12, 13, like somewhere 10 to 15, which that's bubble territory, right? I mean, the cut line could be as low as 12 in some years. You just don't know. So that could be costly at the end of the year, for sure.
Yeah, and they Arizona State hosts their own tournament this weekend. That's Notre Dame is coming in. Trying to remember who the other teams are in that.
I forget. I think it's the Icebreaker, right?
Oh, it's the Icebreaker, but they're hosting it, and Alaska and Quinnipiac are the other 2. So there you go. And, So, and by the way, every year this drives me nuts, but Arizona being on a different time zone for the month of October just drives me nuts.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to get the times of these games right.
I don't know if I told this story last year. When I was in high school, my dad and I and my uncle went out and saw our Pats game in Arizona against the Cardinals. They still played in Sun Devil Stadium, which was kind of cool. So we saw the campus, and it was the weekend the clocks changed. So when we left, I believe when we left, it was a 3-hour time change. When we came back, it was a 2-hour time difference. So the difference in time was not the same from when we left on Friday to when we got back on Monday.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt, but it's first world problems, I suppose. All right, listen, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about some of the other stuff that was going on when we return.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Alrighty, welcome back here to the College Hockey News Insiders podcast, and we are back for another season here from lovely Denver. And Mike is out there in New England as always. And how are the kids' tournaments going these days?
It's going well. Baseball with my oldest kept us real busy in the summer, and then hockey with both of them. The oldest is getting ready for high school season, and my youngest has got. I think his team this year is playing 77 games. He's in 8th grade.
Oh my God! So
between tournaments and regular season games, and they're playing a bunch of prep school JV teams. So it's, it's busy.
What position is
he busy? He's a defenseman. They're both defensemen.
Oh, okay.
Although it's funny, he's currently out of action. He should be back in a week with a bad back.
Oh my God.
He hurt my youngest hurt his back. He had a physical last week, and the doctor goes, he's been complaining of back pain. And the doctor says to my
70
wife,
years old?
Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm like, dude, you're fine. Like, come on, your back can't hurt. And the doctor says to my wife, well, he grew 8 inches in the last 11 months. That's probably why.
Oh my God, really?
8 inches in 11 months. I was like, oh, well, that explains why our grocery bill is what it is.
I remember when that happened to my son too. That was crazy. I know. You wake up one day and he's 6 foot tall.
They're both my height. 15 and 13. 15 and 13, and they're both 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Insane.
Crazy. There you go. Modern technology, I think.
Or something's in the water. I don't know.
All right. Listen, we talked a lot about Arizona State and Penn State. There was a couple other things going on this past weekend, we should at least mention. Yeah, there's a smattering of other key games that, we mentioned Quinnipiac and Boston College. And again, it's, I think you had BC out of the top 10 to start the season and Quinnipiac in there, so maybe not that much of a surprise. BC was held to just 15 shots. What do we take from the early season here? But I do think BC might struggle a bit early, whereas Quinnipiac's an older team, Speaking of older team, Graham Sword, one of the players who played pro hockey last year, who is in college hockey now, 6'4" defenseman, scored his first NCAA goal as part of that. So there you go.
Yep. Yeah, I did have BC outside the top 10. I'm not I guess surprised by the result. I was not surprised by the result. I was surprised by how they got there. Like, I didn't think that Quinnipiac was going to keep BC to 15 shots on goal and 29 attempts. BC only attempted 29 shots, which is kind of crazy. But I agree with you. Like, I think it's a down year for BC, but it's a down year, like, relatively speaking, it's a down year for BC. A down year for BC, like using BC standards, is a team that isn't top 5, but they're probably still top 15. They're going to be competitive for an NCAA tournament spot. They could very well make the tournament. I just think if they do, it's probably as a 3 or a 4 seed, not as a 1 or a 2, which means they're also probably clinging for one of those last spots. That's just the dynamics of it.
No, exactly. I think that's definitely fair. And we'll know more, obviously, in the coming weeks as far as Boston College is concerned. Their schedule, they go to Minnesota this weekend, so that's pretty big. They're going to have to, figure things out in a hurry there. And then they come home and play Denver in a couple weeks after that at home. And so it gets dicey fast here for BC.
It does. Yeah, not an easy trip. And even Minnesota is going to be kind of licking their wounds a little bit after splitting with Michigan Tech. So
well, that was the next thing I was going to talk about there.
Walking into a hungry one, yeah.
That's a nice win for Tech. I mean, on Friday's game, it was 3-2 Michigan Tech going into the third period. And then Minnesota scored 4 straight goals, including an empty netter. So, you figured, okay, they figured things out there. But then you come back on Saturday and, give Michigan Tech a lot of credit, because in that game they were the ones down 3-1. They scored the next 4 goals. So Bill Muckalt, his first year as head coach at Michigan Tech, they actually outshot Minnesota 33-13 on Saturday. And, Minnesota, another team that's just been overhauled with guys. I mean, they have a few guys back, obviously. I mean, Brody Lamb scored a goal in each game for them. He's a senior. But that not much, not much. They have a giant overhaul there. So nice win for Tech, and we'll see if that propels them going forward to the season.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I think Michigan Tech's in line for a pretty big rebound year, though. I think they upgraded a goaltender. I think they brought in some good recruits, some good transfers. I mean, they basically took like Lindenwood's top 3 players who are all pretty good last year. So I think that helps them rebound in the CCHA pretty quickly. Because people forget, they've been really good for a while, but they were a game under 500 last year. I think that gets turned around pretty quickly there. It would be my guess.
Owen Bartoszewicz is their goalie, and he was at Minnesota 3 years ago, went back to the USHL, and then wound up at Lindenwood. And he's one of the guys Mike's talking about that he came over with Bill Muckalt. Had a nice year at Lindenwood last year. And, this year, again, he only had to face 13 shots, so his save percentage is .826 at the moment. But he's going to be fine in net for Michigan Tech. The only other one of major significance, I guess, it was UConn and Colorado College. They also split, and that was on Friday. CC won that game 4-2, and again, another team with has been loading up with all sorts of new players from all over the place. They lost players, get players in. They do have Caden Mbarico back in goal, and he's obviously a huge factor because last year he had a down year after his first 2 years were really good. And then UConn coming off being a goal away from the Frozen Four in their first ever NCAA tournament. They did bounce back and win on Saturday 5-1, and that was also Mbarico. So the results are mixed for Mbarico at the moment. And Joey Muldowney got a goal in each game, so he picks up right where he left off last year for UConn.
Yeah. Joey Muldowney had 29 goals last year.
Yeah, people forget.
I mean, that's a terrific year. And he's back, right? So, I mean, you got to think, especially he's on pace right now for 30 plus just in the regular season. He scores a goal a game. That's what'll hit. So, he's. I think he had a huge year last year. No reason why he won't have a huge year this year too.
Yeah, Tyler Muslick getting the starts in both games. So for UConn, and I remember last year, he got a significant amount of starts, but Callum Tung came in as a freshman towards the end of the season and was really the number one going through the postseason. So Muslick, now a senior, sort of gets his number one job back, and so far so good as far as that's concerned. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think, for them. UConn's going to score a ton of goals with Muldowney and Richard and some of the guys they brought in. They're still going to score a ton. It's just, can they keep the puck out of their own net? I mean, they lost, obviously, one of the two goalies, some of the big minute eaters that they had on defense, guys like John Spetz. Hudson Shandor was a good two-way player as a forward. So the real sticking point, I think, for UConn is, can they keep the puck out of their own net? Because I'm sure they're going to score. And so far, I mean, one weekend in, but against a pretty good Colorado College team, they did a pretty good job there. Only allowed 5 on the weekend. One of those was an empty netter.
Yeah, that was interesting for UConn over the offseason. The previous year, in the previous couple of years, they lost a bunch of guys to transfer and whatnot, and but they credited the fact that some of their leaders came back as a way of stabilizing things, and then they go and make the NCAA tournament. So you're like, okay, now UConn, maybe they can be a place where people are not looking to leave and they're actually looking to stay going forward and also get players in. But they only got one transfer in. Actually, I don't think they got any transfers in, because the Viking Gustafsson Nyberg was a transfer from 2 years ago, which is one of the greatest names in college hockey. And if you look at their roster, they didn't really do anything out of the ordinary. Nothing in the way of transfer or major junior players.
Yeah, the only one I know, off the top of my head, that's a major junior player that came in was the kid Alexander Blaze.
Is it Brendan Dunphy also. What Blaze? Who? Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Blaze was an Anaheim pick. Yeah, he's an Anaheim pick. Played in the Q last year.
Yeah, I missed that one.
The only reason I know him is because he was being recruited by like 2 or 3 hockey schools.
Yeah,
and I think there was a little bit of a battle there for him. So.
Yeah, Blaze and Dunphy are the two that they did bring in from the WHL. Dunphy is a defenseman, 7th-round pick of Florida, 6'5", played in the Western League last year, and then Alexander Blaze. Big boy. Yeah, you mentioned Blaze got a goal and an assist this past weekend. So, but no, I just thought it was interesting. They were somewhat conventional, at least relatively speaking. I mean, that's unusual at the moment. But, they have a good core coming back, and so they didn't have to do a lot. And, if Muslik can be the number one again, and be as good as Tung was last year, then they're in good shape, I think. So we didn't have them in the top 10, right? But they wouldn't be shocking if they were right in there.
No, I think they're another one, kind of like with BC, that I would have in that teens range. You know what I mean? Like somewhere between 10 and 15, probably.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for college hockey this week. And as far as what's coming up, I mentioned some of it there with the icebreaker and Minnesota playing Boston College. Just kind of perusing the schedule here. Mostly non-conference stuff. I mean, Hockey East always has that smattering of league games. Atlantic Hockey drops one in there. Of course, the ECAC won't start till November pretty much. And so, Michigan State hosting New Hampshire will be interesting to keep an eye on because Michigan State did not play last weekend, an official game, right? So that's another team that's been greatly hyped, who have, for a good reason, but we haven't really seen out there yet. And same goes for Boston University, who played. They did have a non-league game against LIU on Saturday, and then an exhibition game. But they'll get going. Those two teams will actually play each other next weekend. So I think we're going to find out a lot about those two teams right then. I mean, that's going to be an epic, as they say.
It should be. Yeah, another one out this way. Michigan is on the East Coast this week, and they're going to take on Providence for 2 games. So that's another big series. And one thing we didn't talk about, but we should just kind of give them a stick tap here, is Miami snapped their 26-game winless streak last weekend.
Yeah.
With a couple of wins over Ferris. They're going to be at RPI this weekend for Eric Lang's first games with RPI.
That's right.
So there you go.
And talk about teams that have overhauled. I mean, both of those teams, Miami and RPI.
Yeah.
20 new players each.
Entire new rosters.
That.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, Miami obviously having to
fans should be investing in a program. They're going to have to invest in an old-fashioned program.
Well, check out College Hockey News there. Get the app, get the website, you get the roster right there.
Yeah.
Save your $5, you got it. But or was it $5 these days? I don't know. I was in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and it was like $9 for a bottle of water. So, I mean, I don't know.
Awesome.
Yeah. And, I
so
get,
pack water for the Frozen Four is what you're telling me.
I'm sort of addicted to Kit Kats, so I get these Kit Kat packages, And over the years, I've seen the price creep up over time, and it comes like 6 in a pack or something like that. Just last week, the grocery store I go to, at least, the price went from $6.99 to $8.79 in 1 week. And of course, the sticker below it still says the same thing. Everyday low price! Exclamation point. I wanted to punch it right there.
Invest in Kit Kats.
I read this. I read that the cocoa production is hurting, and the cost of cocoa has tripled in the last few years. So there you go. Maybe that's probably just an excuse by the Kit Kat maker. Yeah. And that shrinkage is real. Remember Joe Biden? Remember he got kind of like ridiculed for mentioning like that Snickers were getting smaller, and the company denied. I'm telling you, I can tell. Yeah. All that stuff is getting smaller, and it's like price going up. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I went to a movie last night with my brother. My wife hates going to the movies, so anytime I go to a movie in the theater, it's my brother and I that go. and I always get a Nestle Bunch of Crunch. I like the little little Nestle Crunch things.
Yeah,
I got one last night, and I was like, this is like half the size of the box that it used to be. it's double the price, but it's like half. I go, this is like, it's a little skinny box. I'm like, what happened to the rest of it? It's half a box.
Wait, so as long as we're on this tangent, I went to Subway yesterday, and I get a sandwich, and all I want on the sandwich veggie-wise is onions, okay? So, like, if you could technically go up and get, you could ask for all the veggies there, and it's like they'll throw it in, right? I want everything. Just give me whatever.
Yeah.
And they have to, well, I don't want anything but onions. So I was like, give me double onions. The girl was like, she's like handling a baby, like putting in, and I'm like, is that double? She's like, well, yeah, it's like triple. You're supposed to put in like 6 strands. I'm like, you're counting this out? Just take a handful and put it on there. I'm not getting any of the other veggies. You got to be kidding me. Oh, my God. So, yes, old men shouting at the clouds. But that's the world right now.
About candy and sandwiches. I mean, life at this point does pretty much revolve around college hockey, chocolate, and sandwiches.
Hey, I mean, from last year to this year, let's see, college sports is a drastically different thing. We're in a civil war, and my Kit Kats have gone up 25%. So, just a little bit of change. A little bit of change. Hard for the old men to handle it.
Yeah, right. I get you.
What movie did you see, by the way? Did you see Tron?
No, not yet. We saw The Smashing Machine.
Oh, God, I heard that very mixed on that. I'm thinking I'm going to pass.
I thought I was going to like it. I wanted to like it, and it was okay. Yeah. It was okay. It's not a must-see.
I am going time for one more rant. The movie One Battle After Another, and I'm a pretty big movie aficionado, shall we say. So Paul Thomas Anderson is like a god as far as movie directors, and he just does no wrong. Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, all that jazz. I mean, Punch Drunk Love, those are some 3 favorite movies maybe the last 20 years for me. So new movie out, Sean Penn, Leonardo DiCaprio. They're playing it like he shot it in like this format that's supposed to be on a really wide screen, like, super good resolution, and it's only playing that way on like 4 theaters nationwide. So the second best way to see it is like an IMAX, apparently. And there's one theater in the state of Colorado playing it in IMAX, and it's like at 11:50 in the morning or something like that. I'm like, what is happening? So, again, first world problems on this one. I'm going to have to see it in a regular theater sometime this weekend, but looking forward to it because everyone's calling it a masterpiece. And now I can only be let down, unfortunately. That's on our list. I'll probably end up seeing that next week. We try to go to a movie a week. Again, my wife, she hates going in the movies. I told her, I'm like, how do you hate going to? She'll watch a movie in our living room every night of the week, but she hates going to the movies. And I'm like, I'm the complete opposite. I don't want to watch a movie at home. I want to go to the theater. Well, I have a nice system at home. I don't mind doing it, but there's certain things I have to see in the theater. So it's still there's still certain things I will buy a CD of. And there's still certain things I will go to the movies for. So that is one of them. All right, all the old man rantings are done for today, and we'll see you next week on the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. To submit your listener questions, please send them to @CHN News on X. And for the best college hockey content around, including features, the CHN Team of the Week, stats, rankings, and so much more, visit us at collegehockeynews.com. Until next time, we hope you enjoy all of this week's great on-ice action, and we'll be back to break it down on our next edition. For Adam Woden and Mike McMahon, this has been the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.